Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of Capsule Machina. Today we're just going to talk about the Delica and owning a Delica, a 1998 Space Gear to be exact. She is a XR model, so base model, no crazy sunroofs, no crystal light glass. They all are four-wheel drive, these models, so we got that going for her. I've had her about 6 months now ish, and yeah, it's a learning curve, right? A diesel JDM car that we obviously didn't get here in the States. It's kind of a learning process, as anything like this is, right? Things to be aware of. It's not that hard to drive around town. It isn't. I mean, truth be told, it's narrow enough to where if you catch yourself drifting one way or another, you can catch yourself and bring yourself back to where you need to be in the lane that you're in. Is she a speed demon? Absolutely not. Will she get you there? Yes, 100%. Things that I've done with the Delica. Let's start with the interior. Well, you gotta have a phone holder. That's just how I am. I replaced the steering wheel with this Momo that I had left over from this S2000 build, and used that Works Bell hub. Had to take out the coil, so I don't have a horn. I still need to figure that out. Put one of these little stickers here as a reference from kilometers to miles per hour. Pick this up on Etsy. It's kind of for the wife and for slow driving around, like school zones and stuff like that. You can really check yourself and make sure you're okay. Broadway mirror, I got the concave one or convex one. That way, I get a better field of view. But I mean, in all reality, if you're sitting here and this is kind of the driver's position here, and you look, you have excellent field of view here. It's great. They do have these kind of like stock Cali mirrors, so seeing around the vehicle is great. You do have a really high riding position. For me, I'm about 5'7", and I'm sitting right about here. So see this sun visor? It's kind of in the way, and I find myself having to dip down and look to see if the light is turned green, or it's if it's changed. So be advised on that. I'm not by any means a thin guy. 5'7", about 230, and these seats fit me snug. And I would like them to kind of dip down lower if I can get them to go lower, but nah, they have you sitting up so high, and it really kind of holds you in place really snug. Both strings are great. The interior in this van is the stock interior, but man, it's plush. It feels great. Let's go around the other side here. Other things I've done to it. Got one of these going on here. Gotta have that when it's on for some reason. Battery jumper, just cause. Got that cup holder that I bought off Amazon, and it fits pretty good and it works great. This does come with some cup holders, but like I mentioned in previous videos, they sit at an angle, so what you put in there kind of limited as far as a open container like your Starbucks or what have you. I have not really done much here. One thing I do have to mention since I'm in here is the sunroofs. They're kind of, it's of its age. So the plastic tracks came off on this, so it'll open, but then getting it closed was a whole different story. This one opens but won't close, so you have to like time it perfectly. You hit the button to stop it, so it seats. So I just took the fuse out outright, and we're not using sunroofs. Really not into sunroofs too much here in Central Valley. It's just too dang hot when you want to use it. I mean, it's kind of cool at night, you know, to open it up and you can see out. Kids don't mind that, but to open it up, it's not like I'm missing much. Everything else back there is fine. I didn't really do too much to it. Kids love riding in this more than my Stagia. Windshield wipers you'll have to modify, and that's in a previous video. I just bought these little loops from Amazon and cut the arm a bit and screwed it in, tapped it, screwed it in. I'm gonna pop the trunk here, oh, and the hood. I left it alone. Changed the battery, changed the negative terminal so it had a further reach. Maintenance, one thing you got to think about too with the Delicas is upgrading the alternator. That's the first thing I had to do. First thing I had to do with the vehicle. Because yeah, it'll start and run. Once you get it going, it surges. So I replaced the belts. Obviously you got to do all that kind of stuff. Replace the belts, alternator. Had to refresh the AC. Still need to evacuate and do that so it gets colder, but it does work. All the fluids, you just got to know you got to do that. The rocker panel gasket or the valve cover gasket was leaking a bit, so I changed that. Glow plugs, throttle body gaskets, did that, and man, talk about a throttle response change. Great feeling. All the fluids. This is the fuse box where I removed the sunroof fuse. It's a 30 amp. Just unplugged it and left it in there. Air filters. These air filters are pretty hefty, so don't be surprised if don't be surprised with the sticker shock as far as how much they cost. But it is like a piece of metal and filter. What else can I tell you about this? That oil filter down in there, it's massive, just FYI. Everything with the diesel, besides the engine itself, is massive. Right there, fuel filter, change that out, easy breezy. Just gotta make area clear the area. And a lot of things you gotta realize with working on this car is having to make access for what you need to do. So a lot of the times you're taking off or moving the intercooler. Moving this or removing the battery to get to things, so just be aware of that. Other things I did in the front end, I just wrapped the fog lights. I was trying to see if I can change the bulb, but that was a whole process I just wasn't willing to get into. So I wrapped the fog lights with this yellow, and I need to peel some of this clear thing off of that. Made sure I cleaned up the headlights, did all that when I detailed it. Is she good on diesel, like putting around town? Not really, truth be told. But on the freeway, she's a beast. I mentioned before, we took her to the Central Coast. Half a tank got us there. But like driving around town, like I've been driving her Friday, Monday, Tuesday to work and back and picking up the kids, and I'm like at a half a tank now. So let's give her a start. Glow plugs, let that warm up, turn, boom. Gives you all the diesel sounds. I got one of these things, which is cool. It goes away. It's a parking pole. The older models, like the, see, hit this button here. What's up? And this actually turns on when you turn on the headlights. A little green LED. someone pulling in. So I'll finish this video later, but I mean, that's pretty much it for the Delica. All right. Had to do the LEDs. It makes a huge difference. Massive difference, I'm telling you. There it is. So it illuminates green. I'm gonna give you some driving impressions. Like I said, it's really easy to drive, and it's narrow enough to maneuver, especially with our you know, our streets here in the U.S. It's super easy to drive. You know, I thought it was going to be kind of difficult. Truth be told, driving the Stagia catches me every once in a while because it has a longer front end and it's stick shift. So sometimes I'll find myself like, what do I need to do? But I correct quickly, obviously. Like I said, like I mentioned before, she is not by any means fast. So keep that in mind, especially at a start off when you're at a stoplight and you need to accelerate quickly. There may be a little bit of a bog, you know, where it's like, oh, I need to go. Like it's struggling under its own weight. But once the turbo starts spooling up, then it gets up and goes. Forget how much horsepower she has, but I mean, not much. Do you get a lot of head turns? Absolutely. Earlier, someone pulled up in a 4Runner and she wanted to ask about the van, so I had to stop the video just to kind of chat about it. And with any of these JDM cars, especially something like this where we don't have, and it's obviously different from what we normally see here in the States, you're gonna get questions. You're gonna be that quote unquote popular person. So if you're an introvert, get ready to be a little exhausted when you have folks asking you questions about it. And you know, truth be told, I'm more of an introvert too, and I use a lot of energy to get out there and be a personable person. But with this car, I feel kind of good about it. Like, it's okay. Like, people genuinely want to know about it, and they're kind of interested, and they're like amazed on how you got one over here, or you shipped it over yourself, and oh, how'd you get it registered? Being in California, stuff like that. And shoot, I'm not going to gatekeep that kind of knowledge. You know, like, get it out there. Like David Mindy Imports. I mean, he has all this wealth of information. I'm not going to gatekeep it because it's more of a community thing, you know. Getting the word out there, showing folks how they can get their own, you know, car imported from Japan, because they have a lot of cool stuff there, and it's pretty well maintained considering, you know, how much I got this van for versus, you know, trying to get a Sienna, because that was the whole issue. We wanted to get a minivan, the family, and I wanted a vehicle we can pack all the kids and you know, Bola and Lolo, and we can just go on a trip. And looking at Siennas, because I wanted a Japanese car, and Toyota, you know, you can't go wrong with Sienna. Wanted a Sienna, looking, just scouring all the websites, you name it, I was looking. And I had a budget to work with. We only wanted to spend about 15, right? So all I could find in that price range were Siennas that were like early 2000s and like 200,000+ miles on it. And it wasn't even that well kept, right? So looking through Facebook Marketplace and came across a Mitsubishi RVR. And I go, oh, look at that thing. That thing's cool. And the wife's like, oh, why don't we get that? I go, well, it's a JDM car. You know, it only fits 4 people, so on and so forth. And I go, what? One of my friends, he lives up in the Bay Area. He imported 2 Land Cruiser Prados. And he's like, what? I go, well, let me reach out to him and see how he did it. So he went through a company called Goonet, and that's how I got this car, through Goonet. Looked on their website, and it's like a third-party thing. They have a bunch of listings from all the other like used car dealers in the area, or from, you know, Japan. So I'm like, well, kind of want to stick with the Mitsubishi. I love Mitsubishis. And looked up for a minivan, and I had the Delica. And I remember seeing the old L300s around town, and the real boxy looking one. I go, oh, that's kind of neat, you know, real nostalgic looking kind of van. And then I came across this one. I go, oh, this one looks a little more friendlier to work on, or to have, I guess. It has airbags and things of that nature, even though I did take out the airbag from the front, with the steering wheel. And engine's up front, you're not sitting on it. It's different but the same. I don't know if it makes any sense. And it's 4-wheel drive, and I like 4-wheel drive. I have a GX. You know, I used to off-road a bunch. So it has that versatility in case we want to go camping. You know, I'm selling it to myself, and then I ended up selling it to my wife. And she goes, oh, that thing is kind of cool looking. I go, yeah. And I go, it's a diesel, and my buddy, both of his Prados are diesel. So I kind of reached out to him, and he's like, oh, they're not too hard to work on. And that's all relative, right? It depends on how deep you want to get into for working on a car. And he's actually a mechanic by trade, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not. So we were looking, and I found this one here. And to buy it and ship it, it was going to cost $10,000 bucks. I was like, wow, that sounds too good to be true. So reached out to Goonet, asked them what the whole process, all that's all about, and pulled the trigger and got it, right? So there's a whole thing that goes on after all that, right? Getting a broker. We got a broker. That's just going to deal with brokers. It's a lot easier, so they can follow all the paperwork, and I can make sure all my T's are crossed and I's are dotted, because I didn't want any hiccups when it comes to stuff like that. And brokered the car through and paid customs and did all that. So there's a whole process, but all in all, it took a while. It took about 4 months to get. And we got it like very late December. We bought it in September, August, end of August, early September. So it took a while to get to us. A lot of the hiccups were they had they had a typhoon. Weather was an issue, so it kept holding it back. But all in all, it's here. We got it. So one thing I did, and I don't suggest you do unless you have to. I shipped this from Long Beach or LA. So I had to hire a company to do it because I couldn't take the time off of work. In hindsight, after picking up the Stage Gear, I should have just picked it up myself, because what happens when you ship a car from Japan? Battery's dead, right? If the car doesn't turn on and the shipping company goes to pick it up, they'll charge you more to basically jump it. And they charged me another, I don't know, $200 to $300 more just to jump it and put it on their transport, which was kind of like ridiculous to me. I could have just took the day or took leave and got it myself, like I did with the Stage Gear. So it cost way too much to get it shipped from Long Beach or LA to Central California, like $1,500 in total, which to me is like highway robbery. But it is what it is. Live and learn, right? Learn from my mistakes. if you have the capability, rent a U-Haul trailer, a car dolly, get over there, and the process isn't hard. Get a TWIC card or hire an escort when you get on port, and then you'll be fine. Trust me, it's not as hard as some other YouTubers make it out to be. It's what you make out of it, right? It was a learning experience, and it was a very positive one, by the way. Where am I going with this? I'm just ranting now. Is the Delica a great purchase? Yes. In hindsight, I love this car. My kids love this car. I drive it more than my GX right now, although I shouldn't. Is it fun to drive? Yeah. I don't need to go fast. It goes where it needs to go. I'm starting to feel very confident with it. You know, it has its typical diesel shakes and things of that nature, but you know, it is a 26-year-old minivan from Japan that's diesel powered, 4-wheel drive. The one thing I do want to say about that is, you know that. You have to know that. It's not going to be perfect by any means. So it has some faded paint. It has some little surface rust here and there. It has a dent here and there. Creature comforts, you know, that's why I added the ATOTO and the rear camera. Those little things make it easier to drive. AC doesn't blow as cold. I still need to address that. Now, depending on how you get the vehicle, a lot of these plastics are dry rotted. I mean, you're gonna have to kind of know that. Getting parts for something like this is kind of a waiting game, so be aware of all that. Some stuff does cross over. For the Delica specifically, you can get away with using some filters from another diesel. Research that through all the forums. You got to do your research. Oh, excuse me. You got to do your research on your end, otherwise you're going to be stuck in the mud. Some parts do cross over. Some parts are very specific. Some parts you just have to order from Japan or Australia, because there's a big community there in Australia. Seems like both the cars I've imported are popular in Australia. But parts coming from Australia versus Japan, living in California, Australia takes so much longer to get to. And it's not exactly cheaper. Amayama is a great site to grab parts for Delica. Shoot, even eBay has parts you can come up on. Trim and all that kind of good stuff, you can reach out to Steven from Rising Sun over in Canada. That's a great resource. He can hook you up. That's where I got the alternator and some and brake pads and rotors from. You know, you're not spending much up front, but you will for some of the maintenance parts, and be aware of that. Is it going to be more expensive than, say, a 2020 Land Rover? No, of course not. Land Rovers are ridiculously expensive on maintenance parts, but it's going to be a heck of a lot cheaper. And then you have that satisfaction of knowing you did it yourself. So yes, if you want to buy a Delica, shoot, why not? I think the resale on these things are pretty decent too. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I think I can totally get what I put into this back. And that's not like if you're trying to make a bunch of money on a car you're trying to flip, but just know that whatever I did put into it, I'll probably get back for sure. Because these are popular vehicles to have. They're very quirky and they're very functional, and they can do a bunch. So if you're thinking about getting a Delica, I say do it. Why live in regret? And that was kind of the one thing that kind of pushed me to do it. Like, hey, you know what? We work hard. We work hard every day. If this kind of stuff makes you happy, and if you can do it, don't just do it to do it. You don't want to put your life at risk, as far as like your livelihood and your kids and whatever bills you got to pay. But if you can pull it, do it. You won't regret it. I mean, sometimes you will feel like you'll regret it, because man, don't get me wrong, this Delica kind of put me through its paces. But then once you get over that hump, man, talk about a sense of accomplishment, because it'll get you there. it'll get you to that positivity you want to get to. But that's it. I mean, that's 6 months ish of owning the Delica. Overview, you know, it's a great car. There's plenty out there, obviously. When you do your research, pick and choose, really go through these photos that they send you, ask for more. If you can send somebody out to look at it and, you know, boots on the ground, like Nick from way before the fame, do that. If you can, because it'll benefit in the end run. You know, you don't want to come and get your dream car from Japan and get it and be like, oh crap, what's all this junk? You don't want to get caught by surprise with some like rust or some nasty things, you know. But all in all, great experience with the Delica. I don't plan on getting rid of her for a while. If she's running, we'll keep moving with her. I'll keep doing things with it, you know, and the Stagia and the next project and the following project, who knows. Keep moving forward, keep plugging along. Hope this helps. Stay tuned for the next video. All right.